But anyways, all right. So we do a whole lot of talking about Alexia and Todd's divorce. So to bring people up to speed that might not know, they are officially divorced now, correct?
Yes. Yep.
But it sounds like they are back together.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what I know you've gone down a rabbit hole
I
since you've
did.
heard
I
all this.
did.
Let's hear
Because
your thoughts on it.
when this first came out in the news, I, famously said that I thought that it was for a storyline, and people just attacked me, and they felt bad for her, and now, we have people like Brian Moylan from Vulture saying it's not a real divorce,
So it's
which
so
is
funny you
something he
say
never
that.
says.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
something he never says.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting. So again, as an outsider, I thought from watching it now, and now it's kind of wrapped up, so we know exactly what happened until here we are now. I thought, there was all these rumors about Todd was having all these financial problems. So could it be that the whole divorce thing was almost fake? And I don't think that she was in on it per se, but I think that it seemed because her feelings seemed real. I mean, that crying seemed like real crying to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
She seemed like when you hear someone like guttural cry,
Yeah.
same thing with Larsa in the bath. There was a couple points where Larsa broke down where I was like, oh shit, she's not over that guy. Like,
Yeah.
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 So it seemed like she really was devastated that he left and was really, side blinded, whatever the word is.
Blindsided. Yeah.
Blindsided. Yeah.
So
About
you
it.
would think I agree with you, but two things can be true. I do believe not that she was in on it per se, but that she was aware that this was coming. Now, the reason that it was coming, there are so many theories that I have from going down this rabbit hole. He could really have had, financial issues and wanted to protect her and protect whatever assets she may have from anything that might happen. That's one theory. I don't really think it's that one. Then I think that he did not want to be on the show. He had said clearly that he would not appear on the show ever again. He was very embarrassed by the 9-minute apology from that. I guess it was last season or the season before that he made to Anthony Lopez, Nicole's husband.
Yeah.
I don't think that Todd is a bad guy. I think he comes from a good place. And so that was very embarrassing to him. And he just didn't want anything to do with it. There is no way in this world that Alexia would leave that show. It defines who she is. Without it, she really has nothing else. These are not women that have parlayed this opportunity into something else. This is who they are. In the 10 years that the show was off the air, they were waiting by the phone. And that I know as a fact. While everybody else was living their life, creating something, building something, they were just doing that. And I think that he wanted nothing to do with it and she wouldn't leave. But here's the thing, and I don't know if you caught that. The thing that to me really made my ears stand up was when she was on a phone call with Teresa Giudice in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And Todd said that I would be happy with this.
Right. I did hear.
Right. To me, that tells me that you'll be happy because you don't have to worry about the fact that I won't be on the show. Because for me, the reason that I was downgraded to a friend and eventually, I was downgraded to a friend and that's it. I was never fired or anything because there was no show for a long time. And
Right.
I was never asked back because probably would not have been asked back anyway. But I also was very public about that I would never go back. So either way, the reason at the time was because I was engaged to somebody that is a former U.S. attorney, and he could never appear on the show. So I had no storyline. I had a divorce, and then what happens with Anna? What am I going to do? Date on the show when I'm actually engaged to somebody else? So it didn't have anywhere to go. So maybe you'll be happy as you can continue with your show. Now you got your storyline, because I'm sure she told him, without you appearing on the show, I have no storyline.
Right.
They want to see my whole family. So that's one thing. The other thing is that it's possible that by remaining married, she would lose, the government assistance she gets for her son, Frankie, who's a special needs child.
Hmm.
They do look into your, the whole family's income, and she may not qualify. Then I started looking up stuff on him, and I didn't find anything bad about him. When I first met him, and I've actually never met him in person, but when I was introduced to him on my television set, I started finding out what he did for a living. And he's a real estate developer, mostly commercial. And he had I went on that site called Glassdoor, where
Yep.
people talk about what it's like to work. And at the time, it wasn't very positive, and there was more than a few people that said that he paid some employees under the table.
Okay.
Yesterday, I went back to Glassdoor, and that's gone.
Hmm.
And for the most part, I just don't think that he does anything illegal. I just don't think so. That's just my gut. But I did find that just recently, his first wife modified the terms of their divorce and child support. And so if you have the ability to modify a divorce settlement, it usually has to do with when the circumstances have changed, your ability to pay has increased, or their need has changed. Well, when you see Todd on the show, even though he's probably, renting, he rents the place or rents the Ferrari, it looks like he has a much more affluent lifestyle than when he was married to the ex-wife. So she took him to court, and this is recent, and he agreed to go back and get, I guess he paid child support not based on that worksheet that they create or whatever
Yeah.
the court gives you. There's some kind of scale, right?
Yeah.
He didn't pay for that way. So she wanted to go back, and I don't know if they applied it retroactively, but she did when she appealed twice, like in when the show first started, and then in 23, and it was just adjudicated less than a year ago.
Okay.
So I thought
When you
that
say
might be,
adjudicated, that means what for the layman?
adjudicate just means that the court ruled.
So she was awarded.
They ruled in her favor that,
And usually when a woman is doing this, it's because she thinks he's making more money than she's getting, and she wants more money. Whereas, just to be clear for people listening, there are men that could go to court and ask for a change because they're making less and they want to be
absolutely.
giving less.
Modification,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Modification goes both ways, and that has to do with the terms of your marital settlement agreement, whether
Right.
you allow for future modifications.
But don't you think, just as a sidebar, couldn't she have assumed that he as a household was now making so much more because he was now married to her? They were both on the show.
Yeah,
He was getting a salary, and then he was getting more deals because he was now a famous person on the show. So she might have assumed he was making more money when he wasn't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And he didn't really fight it. When you read the documents, he acknowledged that, he agreed with everything she proposed, that that he should, have paid, in the scale or whatever that's called,
Right.
for child support and all that. So he didn't really fight it. Oh, and she also asked for back attorney's fees, and he did pay that. Um,
So,
so
to clarify, it doesn't sound like he has too many financial problems, then.
I don't think he has too many financial
Yeah.
problems. No, I think he's a hard worker.
And don't you think by now we would have found out, because everybody's been talking about
Yeah,
this rumor for a
yeah,
while now? So it
yeah,
seems like we would have heard what the reality of that was by now.
yeah. And then on top of that, he has the two daughters that don't like Alexia. Last week, she came out saying that, the whole show is fake and everything that was portrayed is fake, and that she doesn't like how they portrayed her father because she was there and the scene wasn't like that, and that they're just friends and all this stuff. And so the girls don't like her. She does not have a good relationship with them. So, when he said, now you're going to be happy, it could be, you don't have to deal with my ex-wife or my daughters anymore, or you can do your show, and here I gave you your storyline.
Yeah.
Or it could be like, you don't have to worry about Frankie's financial, situation anymore. I, It
all
could be
sorts of
so
things. It could be.
many things.
It'll be
But
interesting to see what pans out in real time now that the show's out, because if she's nervous and preempting, like, oh, the show's all fake, it seems like to me she's going to be nervous with how she's portrayed, how so much conversation is centered around him, even though he's not on it, which
right.
even if they are starting to get back together now,
Oh, that's going to piss him off. That's
yeah, it's going to piss him
yeah.
off and he'll go in the other direction. So in real time, it'll be interesting to see what happens based on the show being out now.
Yeah. And I don't think that when she said, about he wants me to be, or that, that I would be happy with it, she didn't intend to say that. And I think that opened up a can of worms. So what I believe happened is that they had this conversation about doing a divorce, having a divorce. And she was like, no, 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 no. And he thought it was the best thing for her. So he, sneaked out under the cover of night because he knew that if she was there, she would not have let it happen. And I can tell you that to her, this divorce, she thought this was her last chance. I remember when she got engaged, it's even actually there's film of this, and somebody said, "Oh, you're engaged," and she goes, "Yes," or he proposed. She goes, "Yes, thank God." Like, know what I mean? Like, she has said, "This is my last chance,"
right?
And so she doesn't want to let him go.
Right.
But I also know her to be a proud person. So the fact that she is so confidently saying, like she came out and said at the premiere, that she would only, if she would get married again, she says, but just to Todd. I would only ever marry Todd. She's saying that with a lot of conviction. So that makes me believe that the divorce is real. Obviously, it's recorded in the court and they are living separately and everything else. But I do think that there's a reason that could be any of the reasons that I just told you, or something else entirely. Right. But there's a lot of reasons why that could have happened. But I don't believe that he's doing anything wrong or there's any indictment coming down for him, because a lot of people have suggested that. And in fact, staying divorced would be better for that, because the wife privilege would prevent her. They can't subpoena her if she's the wife.
Right.
So it would behoove him to stay married if he had something illegal happening. So I don't think it's that.
I thought it was interesting too, in the scenes from last night, she was very clear that, she calls him all these names, at the beginning, but then she's very clear about saying only nice things about him. Oh, I'm not single. I'm a married woman, even though everyone's rolling their eyes and being like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
So she seems very loyal and has always seemed loyal to him, or at least wants him to think, or wants him to know that she's saying that, so everybody hears that for credibility's sake, whatever.
Yeah, and she wears her ring, and he doesn't wear the ring. Right. And so, she would not be doing that if she knew for a fact that this was going to end. I think they're going to have a relationship. She talked about getting married again, but having a spiritual, there will not be a legal marriage again. Right. There will not, because, she also has 2 kids that one is problematic because he's basically a thug, and the other one is a special needs child. And, why should he take that on? Right. And so I think he likes her. I think he's attracted her. I think he likes the sex because, she made it a point to tell us that he told her she was the most beautiful woman and the best sex and all that. But that's Alexia for you. She needs to toot her own horn constantly.
Right. Well, my prediction is that after the season is done with, he will probably distance himself because it'll be too much. And there are probably plenty of women who are going to slip into his DMs and say, well, I'll treat you better. Or you don't have to be on the cover of anything with me, but I'm just as hot and will make you feel just as good. So that's my prediction. But what do I know?
Yeah, no, but I think you're right. She's also 7 years older than him. And that does make a difference over time. Yeah. When you hit 60, trust me, it's different. It is different. Yeah, but no matter what you do, the
age matters as a woman, for sure. But by the way, I will say, I happen to think she is one of the prettiest on the show. She has, by the way, her hair is extensions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. She has the best set of extensions because I was noticing all the other girls last night, for all the money they make, all the, the beauty cosmetic stuff going on in Miami, they have terrible extensions. The way
Yes,
they
terrible.
curl them is terrible. The way they're coming out, they all looked terrible. And her
Yeah.
hair was exquisite. So
Yes, her hair's always looks
whoever
great,
does
whether
her
she has it.
hair, you're on
Hmm.
point. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about the next drama in the show, which took up half most of the time, which was the Larsa Marcus breakup, this toxic breakup.